Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. We deserve better than Michael Bloomberg. Michael Bloomberg is a racist. And it's just a damn shame that so many of our people are being deceived by these ads that this guy is running, by these social media posts that this guy is putting up. This guy is a racist. For the longest time, when he was mayor in New York City, this man supported Stop and Frisk. Stop and Frisk was a program that a federal court found to be racist and discriminatory and unconstitutional. But this man supported that policy. It was a policy where thousands of innocent black people were searched, harassed, humiliated by the police. Innocent people. People were arrested falsely and stuff, under this Stop and Frisk program. And this guy defended this program. It was only when he decided to run for president that all of a sudden he decides to apologize for this. But there are many examples of this guy's racism. And it's a shame that this guy is able to buy public opinion by buying all these TV ads and all these social media ads to basically brainwash people, to convince people that he's somehow the best candidate to go against Donald Trump. And a lot of us are letting our fear of Donald Trump control us to the point where we're willing to accept a billionaire, oligarch as the next nominee, a racist as the next nominee. And to me, that's absurd. It's a prime example of how the media is able to manipulate people and control people. This man, for many years, as Sean King pointed out, this man didn't refer to himself as Mike. But now all of a sudden he's running for president. He's using that term Mike, making himself appear to be more friendly or more cool and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of people are buying into it. So this morning I want to go into this article from News One where they go into detail about some of the racist things that this man has said about police in black communities, about redlining. So let's go into it. This is what Michael Bloomberg had to say about Stop and Frisk. 95% of murderers and murderers victims fit one MO. You can just take a description, Xerox it, and pass it out to all cops. And then he went on to say this. They're male, minorities, 16 to 25. That's true in New York. That's true in virtually every city. And that's where the real crime is. You've got to get the guns out of the hands of people that are getting killed. Then he goes on to say this. He defends police who are arresting kids for marijuana. He says he defends police arresting kids for marijuana that are all minorities. He said this. No one seemed interested in talking about Stop and Frisk until he declared his presidency. And that's basically what he was saying. He said, some people are suspicious of it. It said this, like King was asking this, Gail King, the one that I was recently talking about. She said this, some people are suspicious of the timing of your apology. So this guy decides to apologize, once he decides to run for office. And then, this guy says this. He said, well, nobody asked me about it until I started running for president. So come on. I mean, that is so ridiculous. I mean, many people have been complaining about Stop and Frisk. New York City was sued by the ACLU and other civil rights groups because of Stop and Frisk. And now, all these years later, he's going to all of a sudden develop a conscience and all of a sudden, issue an apology for Stop and Frisk. That just shows you how insincere this guy is. It shows you how manipulative he is. It shows you that this is all politics. This is all designed just to get him some votes. So let's go further into this. It points out this. This article said, when a federal court ruled in 2013 that Stop and Frisk was unconstitutional, Bloomberg slammed the judge and did not take the decision very well. He called the ruling a disturbing disregard of, for the good intentions of our police officers who have saved countless lives of black and Hispanic young men. So he was vigorously defending this in 2013. Now all of a sudden, he's apologizing. Yeah, and then this article points out this. It says, what Bloomberg conveniently ignored is that nearly 90% of the black and brown stopped and frisked New Yorkers have been completely innocent, according to data calculated by the ACLU. And then this guy went on to say this. This is what Bloomberg went on to say. You know, this article says that that same year, Bloomberg said on his weekly radio show that not enough black and brown folks were stopped and frisked. He said, I think we disproportionately stop whites too much and minorities too little. Despite the fact that you got thousands of black people and Hispanic people stopped, frisked, and harassed and humiliated by the police. This man thought it wasn't enough. And then he's trying to say, well, it was not because of race, it was because of crime. I mean, this guy is a joke, and I hope that the Democrats have sense enough not to vote for this guy. I mean, first of all, this guy wasn't even a Democrat. You know, when he was mayor of New York, he was a Republican. Now that he's deciding to run for office, all of a sudden he's some Democrat. This guy is not no true Democrat. And only a fool, only somebody that's just clueless will buy this stuff. So I'm encouraging people to read up on this man's history. And not only that, this man says other things. You know, it says the conversation led Bloomberg to shrug while openly admitting that he was clueless about whether or not he thought the NYPD acted in good faith when they arrested and charged the Central Park Five. And this is what he had to say about that. He said, I really have no idea, like, you know, whether or not they were innocent or not. He said before blaming his admitted ignorance about the case. He said he was away from government for a while. And he's just trying to say that he didn't know what was going on. So let's move on to some of the other things that this guy had to say. You know, this article also points out like his racist stereotypes. Like, you know, his statements about Cory Booker, like talking about Cory Booker like he's so impressed that Cory Booker can speak in an articulate fashion. I mean, this is no different from Joe Biden talking about, you know, Obama being clean and articulate and all that kind of stuff. As if being clean and articulate are exceptions for black people. So, you know, this is what Michael Bloomberg had to say about Cory Booker. He said, Cory Booker endorsed me a number of times, and I endorsed Cory Booker a number of times. He's very well spoken. And, you know, this article points out this, like, what are the chances that Michael Bloomberg would refer to a white person that he's dealing with or a white person that has endorsed him as very well spoken? It's like some kind of suggestion that it's somehow unusual that a black person would be well spoken. And then not only this stop and frisk stuff, not only these stereotypical statements about black people and all that kind of stuff. This guy makes these statements defending redlining. And we know that that was a practice where banks would literally draw a red line around communities that they did not want to give loans to. And most of these communities were black communities. So this is what he said. He said, redlining, if you remember, was the term where banks took whole neighborhoods and said people in these neighborhoods are poor, they're not going to be able to pay off their mortgages. Tell your salesman, don't go into those areas. And then Congress got involved and local elected officials as well and said, oh, that's not fair. These people should be able to get credit. And once you started pushing in that direction, the banks started making more and more loans where the credit of the person buying the house wasn't as good as you would like. So he basically blamed, the fact that banks started giving loans to black people for the whole, economic collapse, during the Bush administration. So anyway, man, those are just some examples of Michael Bloomberg and his racism. I'm just encouraging people to keep your eyes open, man. Stay informed. Don't go for the okie doke. Don't go for, these little memes and these Facebook posts and, TV ads. Do your research. It doesn't make sense for us to replace one racist with another racist. And these primaries are far from over. There have only been 2 states that have voted so far. We have enough time to pick, a nominee that can go against Donald Trump. We don't have to settle for Michael Bloomberg. We don't have to replace one racist with another racist. This guy is not a real Democrat. He is a Republican. This guy is buying his way to the White House. And that just shows you everything that's wrong with this political system, man. That it is controlled by these oligarchs, that can buy their way into positions of power, man. We have to resist this. And, there are plenty of great candidates for us to choose from. So anyway, please rate, comment, subscribe, like the video, share the video, hit that notification bell so that you'll know when I post new content on here. And also, I'm encouraging each and every one of you to donate to my campaign to be the next Baltimore City Councilman for District 4 so that we can see a better, cleaner, and safer Baltimore. Peace and blessings, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day.